Hi, I'm Elena Romero.
And I'm Tuffy Questell, and welcome to the Hip Hop Subway,
The L Line. This 6-part series celebrates the 50th anniversary of hip hop, presented by LATiNAS and CUNY TV.
Yes, we've been examining the global phenomenon that is hip hop from every angle and specifically through the Latino lens. Today, we're getting off at the second stop on the L Line, media. Now, as a co-host on Video Music Box, I know a thing or two regarding the role the media played when it comes to the globalization of hip hop, since many artists from the golden age of hip hop made their debuts on our show. If you're from Forest Projects, you know who Full Eclipse is, right? Of course you do. Of course they do. Throughout the years, everyone has learned about hip hop through media, whether it was on the radio, in magazines, or on TV or film, and we're about to hear about the role all of those mediums played in growing this genre over the past 50 years. I'll be talking with my brother, Ulysses Torrero, in a few about the doc he directed called Hip Hop Por Siempre, a film that focused on the global effect that gave Latinos hope and opportunity in every facet of hip hop and music.
But first, I'm sitting down with Tuffy again, along with the founder and original host of Video Music Box, the one and only Ralph McDaniels.
Everybody's uncle.
Thanks for coming back, Ralph. So what do you think about my new co-host? How do you fare off?
He's excellent. He's doing an excellent job. I'm very proud of him. I mean, you know, he's been around the sets a couple of times, so he should know what to do. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. I feel co-signed.
So Ralph, tell us what role TV has played in telling the history and the story of hip hop.
A big role, because prior to TV, music videos and documentaries, the only way we knew about some of these artists and the culture was through magazines or hearing it on the radio. So we had to use our imagination to go past that still to see what was actually happening, or our imagination to listen to that radio and paint a picture of what that is in our mind. When the TV started getting involved and you started seeing, you know, more Latinos and on TV shows and programs, on the Johnny Carson show in the 70s, and late night shows were really probably an introduction for many big stars back then. Soul Train, even Dick Clark's American Bandstand was the beginning of seeing, you know, like, who's Tony Orlando and Dawn? It's a big record. Oh, it's a Spanish dude? Where he from? Mexico? You know, you thought about that for a second, you know? But that was the beginning of seeing these artists and, you know, getting to hear them talk. It's, you know, it's one thing to hear you sing. When you see somebody talking in their own language, that's a different thing.
Tuffy, what are some of your fondest memories of hip hop on TV?
Wow, I'm still thinking about Tony Orlando. I love that whole aspect because these are the people who made it possible for all of us.
Yeah.
Movies like Juice, movies that, you know, had, you know, Beat Street and Wild Style, which were great, no question. But the whole idea of watching films and watching people who look like me made the difference in everything I wanted to do. As an actor, as a casting director, as an entertainer, any opportunity to see me on screen was a blessing. You know, Yaphet Kotto was one of the first real dark-skinned actors you saw on television. And it doesn't get much darker than him. But then we have a Flavor Flav in hip hop, who's that same complexion, and you're blessed by it. Shabba Ranks in reggae music. So you love that they've given us the opportunity, and it's sad to say they have given us the opportunity, but we've taken the opportunity. And there are a lot more Latinos in the game, not just from West Side Story, not just Rita Moreno, and although they also did not give a lot of Latinos all those roles, but we started taking them, and now we're creating that content.
So Ralph, you did a hip hop show before it became popular on mainstream television.
Yes.
Many people know MTV, but MTV Raps debuted in 1988, 5 years after you guys premiered. So how did you feel that your show advanced the careers of not only hip hop artists, but Latino hip hop artists in particular?
We were all looking for something to focus on TV that looked like us. So if it was me talking, if it was Tuffy, if it was me interviewing you at the magic show in Vegas, whatever it was, we were looking for people that looked like us. And so if it was J-Lo sitting home watching Lisa,
Yes.
she got something from that. Lisa, we skip over. She's a major star, you know.
Lisa before J-Lo. That was our J-Lo of
Yeah.
our generation.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And it wasn't just for kids that were from the Latino community. It was for everybody. If you were into hip hop, if you went to New York culture, everybody was watching. You know, if you came from Pakistan, if you came from Nigeria, Ghana, wherever you came from, this is what Video Music Box did. It made you know how to dress, know how to talk, know how to act. Because when you came from these different places, you wanted to fit in. You didn't want to seem like you were from somewhere else. You didn't want people to know that, you know, you were from a Dominican Republic, you were from, you know, wherever, Nigeria. You wanted people to feel like, oh, he's just like us. They would study Video Music Box and go, okay, if I talk like that, I can fit in.
Say that.
And people won't realize that I'm not, you know, from here. I wasn't born here. And that made the transition for many immigrants smoother. Because kids are tough. They'll make fun of you. They'll make fun of your accent. They'll make fun of your clothes, your shoes. And it was like, I just got to act like this and I can get away with
That's
it.
it.
For that little 10 minutes of conversation at lunchtime, and I'm good, you know?
That was water cooler conversation.
Yeah.
They listened to Video Music Box in order to have conversation for the next day.
What made you select Tuffy? And Tuffy, what made you work with Ralph?
Tuffy's sister was the first producer of Video Music Box. She came on board and, you know, she was, oh, my brother's having a party, or we were doing a video, I can't remember. And he came to the set and I listened to him and I realized he had personality. You know, I could see that immediately. I was like, I don't know what he does, but he has personality. And I'm good at that. You know, like, I swear, Cardi B, before she made, I didn't even know she could rap. But as soon as I saw her, I was like, she's gonna be somebody. I don't know what it is she's gonna be, but she's gonna be somebody. And I saw that same thing in Tuffy and others, you know, because the TV is not about us. It's about what we're funneling back out that makes us important.
On that note, thanks for joining us, Ralph.
We'll be right back with more on the Hip Hop Subway.
Magazines and radio have helped put hip-hop on the map, and today we are fortunate enough to have Tony Martinez, one of the founders of Stress Magazine, a Latino-founded hip-hop publication, along with award-winning filmmaker, author, and journalist, Raquel Cepeda. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
So, I like to start off the conversation with a page right out of Brown Sugar. When did you first fall in love with hip-hop?
I want to say it was about 8, 9 years old. And just getting some friends getting holds of mixtapes that were battles of different crews, Cold Crush, the Force MCs, the Fantastic Freaks battling at different places, Harlem World, and then kind of seeing the B-boys breakdancing, and then you start seeing the artwork and you're just fascinated with it. And like, there's a whole new world that you got exposed to as being let out of the house, you know, and you're hanging out with your friends and you just begin to naturally embrace it, you know, hearing Spoonie D and Curtis Blow, you know, like, and you're just like, I just love this. I love the creativity and I love the rawness of it and the funness of it, you know. So I was like, I got to learn more and I want to be part of this.
Well, I guess I was about the same age because I moved back. I was born in Harlem, but I was raised in DR in Santo Domingo from the time I was about, 6 months to about almost 8. So when I came back to New York, just the patina of New York City was kind of like fly to me when we first, you first come in and you going around and whatever, and then you getting to my neighborhood where I grew up in Inwood, and I'm like seeing, for me, my first foray, if you want to look at hip hop in a holistic way, would be graffiti art. Start to go to school, and I see the trains, and I just fell so in love with it, and then seeing, like the style, and it's such an organic relationship. It's not like, I moved here and then I fell in love with this. Hip hop was a kind of like a lingua franca, like what, salsa was to our parents' generation, like the whole Fania sound. It gave people that had pan latinidad, right, a way to feel a little less unsettled in a new land, right? So hip hop was kind of like that generation begat that. The generation of the street families begat that, begat us.
It was a culture emerging,
See.
and it was cool. Like the style, you know, very distinct. Not everybody was into hip hop, and it was very distinct. Like you stood out if you had on a sweatshirt that had those old English letters on it. If you had the sneakers with the fat laces, you know, like there's certain jeans, there's certain look, and that style kind of evolved, and you stood out. And I remember immediately, you know, like me and my friends were like, we're gonna start a crew. And everybody had a crew, and everybody did everything in the crew. You DJ'd, you b-boyed, you tried to write graph as much of a toy as you were, and you created a name for yourself, and that's what you were tagging. You embraced all elements of the culture, and you wanted to learn and be doing all of it.
Well, it was the soundboard of our youth, our teens, our young adults, which then leads me to my next question about the medium of media and the role that it played, such a huge role at that.
Well, definitely in my neighborhood, I saw a lot of media happening, and I got an inkling very young, like, wow, can you actually use this cool stuff, this cool culture to tell stories? And, you know, first I was really taken aback by Star Wars, which is the first hip hop documentary, which Beat Street later borrowed a lot from. And it was just something really freaking cool. And then even when it got like even a little bigger, and you had, I remember I had a babysitter, and we couldn't get, and I had to go to the bathroom really bad, and I had to wait, and I couldn't go across the street. And I learned that day about production and how they had to lock everything down because Lorenzo Lamas was making this incredibly corny movie that I don't even, Body Rock, and he was coming out of the one train, and he was kept on walking and walking, using kids in our neighborhood as extras, and you're seeing like, wow, like there's a way to be seen.
So now hip hop has, in mainstream media, been kind of always looked at from the male perspective or male point of view. What role would you say women have played, especially Latinas?
I didn't know many Latinas that were writing about hip hop in the very, very beginning. And I edited a book, an anthology about what I consider the best hip hop writing of the last 25 years, starting in 2004 and going back. And I really didn't find many Latina names. I tried to fill a space that I didn't see being filled.
And not only did we have Latinas as writers, but we had a few editor-in-chiefs, you included.
Yeah, I didn't, by the time I was editor-in-chief of Russell Simmons' One World, by then already writing for many different publications. I had allies, and a lot of the allies also happened to be men. And I started with a magazine, like kind of a semi-glossy call, I don't know if you remember this, New Word from Brooklyn. It's very small. It's where Saul Williams first published his poetry. A lot of the journalists that became names started there. And I started writing for free because I just wanted to write. I wanted to write. I wanted a place to write. And then when I became the editor-in-chief, I really did try my hardest to put a lot of women on and put young journalists on and give them a space to really hone their craft.
Tony, so we had Raquel at One World. We also had Mimi Valdez at one point at Vibe, and then we had Kim Osorio at The Source.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about why a few Latinos and friends got together to start Stress Magazine.
I like to consider myself like a hip hop purist, if you will, where again, it's about the culture. And there's another element that sometimes gets overlooked, which is the activism part. There was no voice, so we had to create the voice. That's what Stress Magazine was. And it was just a bunch of kids, like recent college grads who were like, these other magazines are watered down and they don't really discuss social political issues, and they don't address our, the things that are affecting our communities. So we're gonna do that, but in a cool hip hop way. And we have our ears to the streets. It was the first magazine that put Fat Joe, Eminem, The Roots, on the cover. You had all these people, some Latin, some not, but we knew who was gonna be hot before they were hot. And because we were indie, we had the liberty to just kind of do it at will. It was very true and pure in our intentions.
Well, I'm sorry, Tony and Raquel, we've run out of time. This has been an amazing conversation. Thank you, both of you, for joining us and sharing your knowledge and expertise. And now here's Tuffy with Ulysses Torero.
Gracias, Elena. As we already know, hip-hop may have had its first stop in the Bronx, but it's now running in every train line in every part of the world, and is an ever-growing culture. Joining us now is my brother, Ulysses Torero, who is one of the driving forces behind the new documentary, Hip Hop Por Siempre, which celebrates Latinos overall who are doing huge things in hip-hop and music. Why Hip Hop Por Siempre, and why now?
Well, Hip Hop Por Siempre was an Amazon idea, an Amazon concept. They did something which Rodrigo Films brought to them, which was La Cuna de Dembow, which did extremely well, especially, you know, having the biggest Latino in it, Bad Bunny.
Hello.
You know, it shook the radar.
Right.
So they wanted to continue in that Latin space. So then, you know, the company that came up with Hip Hop Por Siempre, which, you know, we confirmed or whatever. But like I said, it was, you know, I'm glad you brought it up because a lot of like the legends and the culture had a problem with it, right? So globally, it was a huge success. I travel a lot, so I go to this country, this state, and everyone's like, oh my God. You know, this started a conversation that Latinos have always been overlooked, you know, till this day as well. You know, so it's like they did the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and no networks, no show, no conversations, nobody mentioned one Latino.
Wow.
You know, and that's the only, I haven't directed in maybe like 2-3 years. Because, you know, just, you know, I'm an artist and I have issues with people that control the creative that don't know anything about the creative. They hire you to do something and then they're like, hey, don't you think this should be more street? And it's like, what do you mean more street? You know, maybe a hooker and a crackhead, and it's like, what are you talking about? That's the 80s.
Right.
The fact that this was an opportunity to start a conversation about how we've just always overlooked. The Amazon's, you know, one of the biggest companies on the planet Earth, and they promoted the hell out of this everywhere, globally. And I wanted to make a statement to everyone that we were here.
Say that.
And that was my goal, was to try to reach out to everyone that was there in the beginning and that's here now at the highest level ever. And that was kind of the goal of this project. You know, I was there. You know, I was there. I grew up in the South Bronx, 161 on Walton Avenue. I went to the parties for $1, $2 when they were doing the hip hop music. I was a b-boy. You know, CBS Crew, Can't Be Stopped. You know, I did rap, Big Justin Fly. You know, I mean, I was part of the culture.
You're still a b-boy.
You know, I still am.
You just elevated
I was about to go right now, but the thing is like, so the main goal was to start a conversation. Hello, everyone. We were there.
Right.
The first rap group ever, the second rap group ever, like we were there. You know, and the biggest problem is that some of the legends, you know, that maybe didn't catch the bag, because back then we did it for love.
Right.
You know, so it wasn't until like Run DMC and certain people that made hip hop platinum and, you know, and changed the level of what this music was, and then the millions came after that. So a lot of people wanted the bag on this.
Right.
You know, and there's a documentary. There's no bag. It's a project that Amazon was doing, and we were work for hire, and we took the job to make sure it was done as best as it could be done.
And y'all did that.
You know, that was the attempt, right?
Hip hop literally saved my life.
My question would be then, would it make sense that we should see Hip Hop Por Siempre episode 1, episode 9, episode 300? I mean, you have footage obviously for days.
Like I said, you know, there's a conversation maybe potentially doing, you know, each part, you know, breakdancing, graffiti, DJing, hip hop, and spending more time on that. You know,
Copy that.
You know, this started a conversation. You know, that's what it was. So the people that were frustrated that they weren't in it or they didn't get the money or whatever the case is, like, this was an opportunity to start a conversation and show the legends to this new generation that doesn't even know how it started, where it started, who was there, who did it. So we were trying to do an educational piece. Originally it was 25 minutes. You know, if you're lucky, you got a minute.
What did you leave on the edit floor that you wish you hadn't?
I mean, hours and hours and hours of footage. I say, be real. Oh my God! You could
it's a
just
plethora all
you
day.
could just do the movie of him talking.
Wow.
I mean, it's like, you know, like I said, I was blessed to have directed a video for him many years ago with Tony Touch and Nina Sky.
Nice.
That's the first time I met him, and well, actually, that's not the first time I met him. That's the first time I worked with him. So it was like, you know, I'm a fan. So you know, so to have you know, went to his studio in LA and we sat down with him, and he was just so mature, so brilliant, so smart, and he really spoke about the business side of things. And how to capitalize off your music, your platform, your followers, your popularity. Like he really talked. It was an educational piece. So that's a whole nother documentary
That needs to be done.
would be real. But he was, you know, like I said, everyone, you know, Residente. Oh my God. Woo.
I mean, I'd like to see some of that footage.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like they're legends.
Right.
So we asked like 20 questions.
Of course.
So, you know, that was the hardest thing, was how do you make a 25-minute piece with 30 hours of footage that you know, Noriega, oh my God.
I can only imagine. I mean, Nori's got stories for days.
Oh
I
my
love Nori.
God, Noriega.
What's next?
I can't talk about it.
Okay.
You know, it's a bad, it's bad because I believe in manifestation. I believe in positive energy. I believe in all that stuff, right? But for me, for some weird reason, whenever I share what I'm going to do,
I got you. You don't even.
like say the Fat Joe series, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were ready to go, right? We're ready to go. Nobody knew about it. They put it on deadline, and everybody started talking about it.
Good energy, bad energy.
And we haven't started shooting yet. Actually, one of the projects, you know, I want you in it.
I'm there.
I would love for you to be part of one of them, actually.
Listen, if we had another Malta, I'd toast to you right now. Here comes Elena, which means our time is running beyond.
Thank you so much for that, and thank you. We need these kind of films. This is just the beginning.
Oh,
Thanks for
wow.
starting
Okay.
that conversation.
Oh, this is like when you get the award and you talk too much and
She's the band.
music?
She's the music.
Oh, man, I didn't even say anything yet. Woo.
That's all the time we have for today, but don't hop that turnstile on the way home, bro. Make sure you come back and ride with us to the next stop on the hip hop subway when we talk photographers, fashion, and more on the L line. I'm Tuffy Questell.
And I'm Elena Romero. See you at the next stop.
Salma Hayek wore a Gucci Dapper Dan outfit, which was really a Dapper Dan outfit. She was representing him. Her being Mexican, I liked the way she was bridging the gap.
You didn't have the music in isolation. It was always about visuals. So what people wore was always a part of the culture. It was one aspect of how they expressed themselves.
We contributed to the music, we contributed to the dance, we contributed to the art, and I think that needs to be talked about, you know, and somehow through the commercialization of hip hop, all of that gets left out.